I'm here with Jada Pinkett Smith, one of the executive producers of the Netflix documentary about Queen Cleopatra. The last few weeks, your series has been making headlines
Yeah,
and things have gotten a little bit,
cray cray.
yeah, I guess you could say cray cray. Yeah, there's been controversy surrounding the depiction of Queen Cleopatra. In the series, you have rewritten history and present Cleopatra as a mixed race black woman, despite the fact that scholars and even the Egyptian people agree that Cleopatra was in fact of Greek Macedonian descent. Why did you feel it was necessary to blackwash a queen who in fact was not black?
I just wanted to feel good. It had been so long since I felt good.
But not only is it historically inaccurate, but it is disrespectful to the Egyptian people. And now the Egyptian people do not feel good.
Yeah.
And an Egyptian lawyer is suing Netflix. What are your thoughts on this?
There's people's feelings involved. Even though this is minuscule, I do feel like it's these kinds of things that create the world that we're in.
Okay, well, what do you have to say to those who don't support your Cleopatra documentary?
It's all love.
So, no regrets?
But I actually don't look at it as a transgression at all. You got to go through some to get the answers.
Okay, so you're not sorry. Got it. Today's video is a juicy one, but before I get into it, today's video has a sponsor. Have you ever gotten an email saying that you won a prize from a contest that you know you didn't participate in, but out of curiosity, you clicked on it anyways and ended up opening a link that installed malware on your device? And did you wish there was someone there to save you from yourself? Well, sounds like you need Atlas VPN. Atlas VPN currently has over 6 million users worldwide, including yours truly. Right now, Atlas VPN has a special 3-year deal for just $1.83 a month, plus 3 extra months and a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's 85% off. That's basically free, guys. You need to make sure you take advantage of this limited time offer before they change their minds. And what will you get for $1.83 a month? Well, you get the same thing that I get. With Atlas VPN, once you're connected, you get access to a virtual private network that protects your internet connection from weirdo hackers. You get anonymous browsing, so not even the government knows what you're up to, which is nothing illegal, I'm sure. And thirdly, you get to change your location, which is the best part. You can set your virtual location to anywhere in the world, such as the UK. So rather than having to fly to the UK to get access to the UK Netflix, you can access the UK Netflix right from your bed or your toilet or wherever you watch Netflix that is most comfortable for you. And speaking of flights, did you know that Atlas VPN can help you save some coin when shopping online? You can get the best deals for airlines, hotels, car rentals, and more just by using Atlas VPN to change your server. But what makes Atlas VPN the best is that you can install it on an unlimited amount of devices, so you can have every single device in your household secured. And the installation process is so easy. Download it, open it, log in, and press connect. Very simple. Everyone should have a VPN, and you should at least have Atlas VPN. You see what I did there? At least Atlas. If you want to take advantage of their 85% off deal, just like I did, click my link in the description box down below. My personalized link will come with an 85% off discount automatically applied. I want to give a special thanks to Atlas VPN for sponsoring this video, and a special thanks to everyone who uses my link to sign up for Atlas VPN, because not only are you getting a great product, but you're also helping to support my channel, so thank you. But without further ado, time to get myself in trouble with the overly sensitive lot of you on the internet. Before we talk about blackwashing, it is important to define what blackwashing is. Blackwashing is defined differently depending on where you look on the internet, and some people will say it's not a thing. It's definitely a thing. Bruh. Blackwashing or race bending is the act of taking an originally white character and swapping them with a person of color. And in this video, I want to talk about 2 different types of blackwashing that has been happening a lot in the media. There is the blackwashing of historical characters, like we have seen with the Netflix documentary about Cleopatra, and then there is the blackwashing of fictional characters such as Ariel from The Little Mermaid. For the first half of this video, I'm going to discuss the blackwashing of historical figures, and in the second half of this video, I'm going to discuss the blackwashing of fictional characters, and I'm also going to put timestamps in the description box down below. The Netflix documentary about Cleopatra has not only sparked an online debate about blackwashing, but a whole ass lawsuit has come from this. An Egyptian lawyer by the name of Mahmoud Al-Samari has filed a lawsuit against Netflix over the docuseries, and in his complaint, he accuses Netflix of erasing the Egyptian identity. And as far as his lawsuit is concerned, I support him.
I'm gonna stick beside him.
The debate about Cleopatra's ethnicity is nothing new. This debate has been going on for decades because the identity of Cleopatra's mother and the identity of her paternal grandmother have not been historically documented. But what is known about Cleopatra is that while she was born in Egypt, her family origins are of Greek Macedonian descent with a little bit of Persian. She was a direct descendant of the Ptolemaic dynasty, a dynasty which began with Ptolemy I Soter in 323 BC. It lasted for nearly 3 centuries. And the Cleopatra discussed in the Netflix series came from a line of Cleopatras. So the Cleopatra that is discussed in the docuseries is Cleopatra the Seventh, and the woman who is believed to be her mother is Cleopatra the Fifth. And it's important to note that the Ptolemaic dynasty practiced incest to maintain the purity of their bloodline.
You're the reason this species is a failure, and it makes me angry.
So Cleopatra's father, Ptolemy XII, was actually married to his half-sister, Cleopatra the Fifth. So Cleopatra's mother technically was also her aunt.
Ew, this is so cringe.
And Cleopatra herself was married to 2 of her younger brothers during her lifetime, but did end up having children with men outside of her bloodline, those men being Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. But despite all of the knowledge that we have of the Ptolemaic family tree, despite the fact that statues have been recovered that show us what Cleopatra looked like, and spoiler alert, Black women don't look like this. Well, actually, maybe one. And despite the fact that there are coins that have been recovered with what is believed to be images of Cleopatra, the Netflix documentary is choosing to ignore all of this evidence and portray Cleopatra as a biracial Black woman. They might as well have cited the Remember the Time music video as one of their sources of information. You know, I thought long and hard about why there are some people who so desperately want to claim Cleopatra as a Black woman, despite all of the evidence to the contrary. And I came up with 2 thoughts. There are some people who simply have done no research, and they don't know about ancient Egyptian history. And then there are some people who know the history, but rather than acknowledge facts, they would rather operate in emotions. And they want to claim Cleopatra's accolades and even her struggles for the Black community. Take, for example, this opinion piece that I found in the New York Times. In the opinion piece, the authors say they believe Cleopatra was culturally Black, therefore that makes her Black. And how do they describe culturally Black? Well, for starters, they say that Black communities view her as Black, so therefore she Black. Okay, well, the Black community has also embraced Eminem, Bill Clinton, and Kim Kardashian, so I guess all of them are Black too. But there's more. The authors go on to draw some pretty problematic comparisons between the Black community and Queen Cleopatra. For example, comparing the Black experience to not knowing the identity of one of your parents.
What?
Because, like I mentioned earlier, there is no documentation that explicitly states who Cleopatra's mother and paternal grandmother was. So they're equating this to being culturally Black. Yeah, they also point out how Roman poet, and I'm going to try my best here, guys, Propertius, okay, Propertius, Roman poet Propertius famously called Cleopatra a whore queen, and they point out that she was also a single mother. Quote, when the Roman poet Propertius famously called Cleopatra a whore queen, Meretrix Regina, he laced his misogynistic tirade with allusions to Egypt, such as the poisonous city of Alexandria and the yapping Egyptian god Anubis. The intersection of Cleopatra's race and gender resulted in a form of oppression that cast her heritage and sexuality as particularly dangerous. Regardless of her lineage or appearance, it's clear that Cleopatra's actions were not perceived as the typical behavior of a Greek or Roman woman. Throughout her reign, Cleopatra was also careful not to depict herself as a wife or consort, but rather as Isis, the great Egyptian goddess who raised her son alone without her slain husband Osiris. I can't. I cannot. I cannot. For what it's worth, this article was written by two white women who clearly lack self-awareness.
Are you African American?
I don't understand.
But aside from that article, there are people who want to associate Cleopatra's positive qualities with blackness. Cleopatra is said to have spoken 8 different languages, including Egyptian. She's said to have been charismatic, intelligent, beautiful, ruthless. She's said to have even been revered by the Egyptian people, even though she herself was not ethnically Egyptian. She's said to have had many great qualities, and I think these qualities are the reasons that Black people want to claim her for the Black community. They want the bragging rights to say that Cleopatra was smart and beautiful, and therefore that means that Black people are smart and beautiful. And trust me when I say this, we don't need to take other people's historical figures to prove that point. There were Black pharaohs who reigned over Egypt. For example, King Pai, also known as King Pianki, who was born in Sudan and invaded Egypt to become the ruler of the 25th dynasty in ancient Egypt for over 30 years. And there were also Black women who ruled over parts of Africa. Take, for example, Queen Amenarenas, who among other things commanded soldiers of the ancient kingdom of Kush and successfully resisted a Roman invasion by Julius Caesar's army. And I bet that most people do not know about King Mansa Musa. King Mansa Musa is believed to have been the richest man to have ever lived, okay? People say secured the bag. He secured all of the bags, all of them. He's believed to have been even richer than Jeff Bezos. They estimate that his net worth in today's dollars would be over $400 billion because all of the gold that he owned. But rather than talk about him, we're still out here trying to claim that Cleopatra was a biracial Black woman. Y'all need to get your head out your asses. Leave Cleopatra alone. Leave that girl alone. But I have to say that I also find it very cringy that Black people are like being copied and pasted and just placed into stories, like white people stories, in places where they don't belong. Like take for example having Jodie Turner-Smith play Queen Anne Boleyn, a historical figure who actually existed and was a white woman. Or having Caroline Henderson, a Black woman, play Hakon Jarl. Hakon Jarl was a real-life Norwegian Viking and a ruler of Norway, but he was also a white man, not a Black woman. And on top of that, there is no evidence that Black Vikings ever existed. And there's a good chance that even if they did find that there was Black people who traveled with the Vikings, they probably would have been slaves, not kings. And then there's Bridgerton, a Netflix series that is an adaptation from a book written by Julia Quinn. The fictional book series takes place in the Regency era in England, and while it's mostly a fictional story, it does feature characters who were real-life members of the royal family. The author deliberately created this book series with white characters, and has allegedly said that she does not write Regency-era novels with Black characters because she, quote, writes happy endings. Even still, the book series was adapted into a Netflix series, and many of the characters have been race-swapped in the name of diversity and inclusion. And one of the characters who was a real-life person, Queen Charlotte, has got her own spin-off series which borrows from real history and then incorporates some fantasy and fiction. And of course, it is played by, say it with me, a Black woman. There are so many issues that I have with race-swapping historical figures. First of all, not only is it historically inaccurate, but Black people are being written into stories in eras where they would not have been welcomed in those places in real life, and is done for the sake of diversity and inclusion, and the realities of what Black people in those time periods would have faced is being completely ignored and trivialized. That is not meaningful representation. Secondly, by inserting Black people into white stories, they are now tokenized. And for those of you who are not familiar with what tokenization means, tokenization is defined as the practice of doing something such as hiring a person who belongs to a minority group only to prevent criticism and give the appearance that people are being treated fairly. Thirdly, inserting Black people into white stories is further perpetuating the one thing that many Black people complain about: Eurocentrism. Eurocentrism is defined as an attitude, conceptual apparatus, or set of empirical beliefs that frame Europe as the primary engine and architect of world history, the bearer of universal values and reason, and the pinnacle and therefore model of progress and development. When we prioritize appearing in white stories rather than telling our own stories and our own history, we are indirectly sending the message that white European history and white European stories are more interesting and more important than our own. Fourthly, the hypocrisy around this I find so annoying. There are people who say, well, who cares if a white historical figure is race swapped with a black actor or actress? At least a black person is getting paid. But those are the same people who got upset when Zoe Saldana played Nina Simone in the Nina Simone biopic. So clearly, you guys do care about accurate representations of historical figures. And lastly, I have to say that I'm very cynical about the motives behind race swapping characters, especially historical figures. I believe it is being done intentionally to create division in society because as long as we are fighting with each other, as long as we are not united, we are easier to control and easier to manipulate. But I also believe that it's being done because it's just cheap advertising. Take, for example, the Netflix series about Cleopatra. Like, let's be real, if they had casted a Greek woman to play Cleopatra, like, nobody would really care. I mean, there would be some comparisons to the whole Elizabeth Taylor situation, but by and large, like, no one would care, no one would watch it unless you're like a history buff or unless you're putting it on because you're not actually going to watch it, you're going to be doing something else. No one would bat an eye, and they would have to spend a lot of time, money, and effort to make us care. Or cast a black woman, throw some bread for the geese, and watch them fight. All of the online discourse just created free advertising for Netflix, and now people know about it and they're gonna watch out of curiosity or they're gonna watch to hate watch. Either way, Netflix wins. I believe that's the real reason that race swapping is being done more and more. It's not because executives give a shit about diversity and inclusion, it's because they care about making money. And creating controversy is free advertising, so it helps with profit margins. When it comes to race swapping previously established fictional characters, I have mixed feelings about this. This conversation first began because whitewashing was happening in Hollywood. White actors and actresses were playing roles in adaptations that should have gone to minorities. Take, for example, Jake Gyllenhaal playing the Prince of Persia, Johnny Depp playing a Native American in The Lone Ranger, Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell playing a character who was Japanese in the source material, or humans playing cats. Bruh. So many cats missed out on the opportunity to secure the bag. There historically has been legitimate criticism of Hollywood for not casting ethnic minorities to play characters that are ethnic minorities. It seemed as though Hollywood didn't believe that audiences would pay to see movies that starred ethnic minorities, so those roles were given to white actors and actresses, but ironically, many of those movies flopped anyways.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
However, in the last few years, we have seen representation and inclusion be done well and be done successfully. Take, for example, Crazy Rich Asians, Black Panther, Soul, Shang-Chi, Encanto, Moana, Get Out, and so many more movies not only have characters that are ethnically diverse and culturally diverse, but their cultures and ethnicities are also embraced in the storyline. That is the diversity and representation that I think all of us were asking for. But it seems like no one has put the car in park. Like we drove the car, we got to our destination, we didn't put the car in park, and now the car is continuing to roll down the hill, and everything has just gotten out of hand. There has definitely been an overcorrection. And now not only are people of color being used as diversity hires and clickbait, but it seems like there's this new sense of entitlement from actors and actresses of color. Take, for example, the casting of Prince Eric in the live action version of The Little Mermaid. There's someone who was upset by this, and it's this guy. This guy from the TV show 13 Reasons Why. Christian Navarro is a Puerto Rican actor who also auditioned for the role of Prince Eric, however didn't get the part. Jonah Howard King did. And when he found out that he did not get the role, he was pissed. He was so upset that he put out a tweet that said, "I guess diversity is just a word, And that's Hollywood. One brown person is enough. Two brown leads is unthinkable. This guy had a bitch fit because he didn't get the role and he's blaming racism. He acted as though no movie in the history of the world has ever starred more than one person of color. And he acted as though he was entitled to play Prince Eric because he's a diversity hire. This man had the audacity to put out that tweet despite the fact that the cast is very diverse. Obviously, you have Halle Bailey as the Little Mermaid, Halle Bailey, of course, being a black woman. You have Javier Bardem, who is Spanish and plays King Triton. You have David Diggs, who is black and plays Sebastian. You have Aquafina, who is Asian and plays Scuttle. You have Noma Dumezwani, who is a black woman and plays Queen Selena. And you have Lin-Manuel, who plays Chef Luis and is also one of the executive producers of The Little Mermaid. So no, this movie does not have a diversity problem. Christian Navarro, white people are allowed to act in movies too. Okay, it's not illegal.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
But when it comes to race swapping fictional characters, ultimately, I'll say this is how I feel about it. I would say in terms of previously established characters where the character, is not well known or not very popular, and the ethnicity of the character is not relevant to the storyline, I actually don't have an issue with colorblind casting. I think it's a great way to make sure you get the person who is most qualified for that role, regardless of their race. But when it comes to previously established characters with a very large fan base, personally, I prefer that they cast someone who looks like what the fandom is expecting them to look like. I think just to be respectful to the fans and also because the race swapping is creating such a big cultural divide. I just think, if it's a popular character, just cast someone who looks like the character and be done with it. However, if there is a way for it to be done without it being divisive and without it being just, forced diversity and, ticking off a box, if it can be done authentically without being divisive, then I don't mind. Like, take for example, Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man is traditionally a white Peter Parker, but Into the Spider-Verse has an Afro-Latino Spider-Man, and they incorporate his culture and his ethnicity into the storyline in a way where it's not forced, and they also do a very good job at incorporating a whole multitude of Spider-Man. So you have a female Spider-Man, you have the traditional Peter Parker. All of it is done very well. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but Into the Spider-Verse, I will say, is race swapping and diversity done well. So it can be done well. It can be done without being divisive. I just think you have to be clever with how you do it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button because it helps me in the algorithm. If you want to support my channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to see more content just like this, I have 2 more videos for you in the end card. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.